Hey folks, well, Keep It Wausome podcast coming at you again. Today I have Eric Thomas. Eric,
Hello.
you have quite a career. You have 4 gyms now, right?
Right, yeah.
4 gyms. You have your own supplement line,
Mm-hmm.
and you do metal sculpture.
Yep.
Yeah.
Statues.
So you've kind of built this life almost completely around health and nutrition.
Yep.
Other than the sculpture part.
That's the only thing that doesn't fit in.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool though, right? So I guess I just want to ask, like, how did you get started in health and fitness? Like, I mean, were you an athlete in high school? How did that work?
I did do some sports in school, but then I just started getting into as soon as I started lifting weights, though, I just started focusing on that.
Really?
Kind of sports went to the side, and I just really got into just lifting and stuff like that. But just consumed me for a while.
What sports did you do back then?
I did football,
Football.
Basketball. Stuff
And
like that.
why weightlifting? What was it about it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just something I could just focus all my energy on. You see results right away, you know what I mean? And then getting stronger was something that, I don't know, was just attractive to me.
Yeah. Did you start lifting for football then? Is that where it started?
Yeah,
Further back?
yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
It started for football, yeah. Jim Boucher, he was kind of like a mentor. I don't know if you know him.
I do,
but
yeah. He's on the school board now.
Yeah, so he's a great dude. Like, he kind of took me under his wing. I really didn't know anything about lifting weights.
So did you grow up in Managua?
No, he was at East then.
Oh, he
this
was at
was
East back
pre,
then, okay.
yeah, Monaco, so he was the football coach.
Oh, okay.
So then he kind of took me under his wing, and I remember he said, you know, anyone could live with me before school,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everyone's going to throw up and then never come back. So I took it as a challenge, you know what I mean? I was kind of a hard-headed, so I went in, I trained with him,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he puts you through it, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I bet.
And I did throw up, but then I did come back. And I came back
Wow.
for a whole year. I lifted weights before school with Jim, just one-on-one.
Wow.
So he kind of showed me like determination, kind of showed me like, I don't know, man, like how to really push yourself to the end, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So huge influence, which I've told him.
How has your weightlifting evolved over the years since high school?
Well, when I first started, I just want to get stronger. Like, that's all I cared about.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into like doing powerlifting movements. I got into like squats, deadlifts, huge bench, and all I want to do is be as big as possible. So I did that for a while. I got up to like 300 pounds, and I was pretty strong. And then, I don't know, over time, I just wanted to change up a bit. I wanted to be more like healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like trim up
Mm-hmm.
and just be whatever, in shape, more health.
So what did that translate to in terms of how you approached your lifts? Like, are you know, because there's a lot of talk about like training for hypertrophy versus strength gains.
I didn't change it too much. The only thing I changed was my diet.
Really?
Yeah, so diet was really just because what I think, and maybe it's different for everybody, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But some people just want to go high reps and they think that'll make you lose weight, but then they diet super strict and then they lose all the muscle.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep the muscle, you would keep training just like you're trying to be as strong as you possibly can, but then you just tweak your diet. So that way, as you lose the body fat, you'll keep your muscle.
That makes sense.
And strength.
Yeah.
So you actually, sometimes when you're trying to lose weight, you try to lift heavier.
Interesting.
And then you keep that muscle.
Interesting.
You know, so as you shed down, you have all that muscle. Otherwise, if you try to then you're losing muscle and you're losing body fat, and then you may not feel that you look how you want to look. But
Interesting. What kind of food were you eating when you were bulking up, and then how
pizza.
did you just so
Destroying it.
So you were just
Fazoli's.
yeah.
No, but I mean, I'd eat good. I mean, I'd still do the chicken breast, the rice, the steak. I would still do the hamburger. I would do that, but I would always add in, my post-workout would be like, you know, everything you could think of.
Wow.
Not really sugar. I didn't get into that too much.
Gotcha.
But I would get into like huge carb meals. You know what I mean?
So you're just eating
Pasta.
So you're eating like massive calories.
Yeah, huge.
And so when you wanted to lean down, you kept the heavy. It sounds like you just kept the heavy weights, but you dropped
Correct.
the diet. Did you just drop the amount, or did you change the types of foods?
More the types. So I still try to eat as much chicken as I can. You know what I mean? And that's, I don't know, like 180, that helps me, like the 180 cuts.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So then it's not, because I don't really like cooking too much. You know what I mean? My wife's a great cook, but we're just busy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then you can get like the chicken, I do the double chicken and the, you know, double steak and the double, just as much protein as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I just cut out, I just stay away from, you know what I mean? Whatever.
So kind of like what they usually call eating clean, that sort of thing.
As good as I can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Still go to Mexican restaurants, but I'm not gonna stop that.
For sure.
There's no way.
Yeah, so how did that translate into, it sounded like the supplement line came first, is that correct?
Well, yeah.
Well, I should
just interesting.
I should back up and just say, like, what did you do after high school? What did your career look like? And then we'll see how that went.
Well, high school, I instantly went with my buddy Pete Ligero and we drove to Arizona with no direction.
Yeah.
Didn't go to college, didn't do anything. Went to Tucson, Arizona, and car broke down 3 times. And we just kind of hung out. I didn't really do much, you know what I mean? I didn't have any real direction or anything.
Interesting.
Then I came back because I failed there pretty much. There was nothing going on there. And I started working for a theming company.
A theming company?
Yeah, so then we would do, I was a concrete mixer. So all I do is mix concrete all day.
Oh.
So, you know what I mean? I didn't have to think, I didn't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing these huge water parks like the Kalahari, Polynesian, Chula Vista, Dollywood, in Tennessee. We were going to Denver, traveling all over. So that was a company that did like the waterfalls and the concrete trees and all that, you know what I'm talking about, like the theming for water parks.
Yeah, yeah.
So we did that, and I was just mixing concrete, and I was kind of just in my zone, and lifting weights, and that's all, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was fine with that, and a funny thing is, so the foreman who did the theming, like the welding and like the structural, he didn't show up for work, and we were way behind on that end of it. So I couldn't really mix concrete, so my boss asked me, can you weld? And I said, yeah, I can weld. And then he gave me a picture, and it was a waterfall, and he said, try to weld that. And I was like, oh man, you know what I mean, like, you know, I'm a concrete mixer, you know what I mean, I'm like, I don't know.
Did you learn welding in high school?
I just knew how to do it.
You just knew how to do it?
A buddy of mine showed me when I was younger.
Gotcha.
So I said, okay, I'll try it, and I just went at it, and I could just do it.
Wow.
So I could just look, and that, he said, I remember him coming over and saying that welder didn't stop the whole time. Like I could weld super fast, and I could, like I was on, like on autopilot, like I don't have to think. Like I can look at a picture and I could just do it. And he came over at the end of the day and said, you'll never mix concrete again. And then I moved up to foreman, and all I did was weld. Then he had me weld trees and animals and waterfalls and whatever. I could just do it. So then I did that for a while, which was fine. And then I was doing tree, so I welded the tree, carved the tree, was painting the tree, and the guy next to me is like, you know, you could just do this on your own. You know, and my company at the time was making millions of dollars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just I was doing okay, but I was just like, yeah, you're right. So then I quit, and I just started Echoscapes.
Wow.
So it's like, just like, get an idea, and then that's one thing I can do is get an idea and then just do it.
And you were still in Arizona when you started this?
No, I moved back from
You had
Arizona.
moved back. Gotcha.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that was around, they're from Wausau, and then Anawa, like area like that.
Oh, okay.
So I worked for them for a while, but then I just left, and then they hired me. They hired Echoscapes, subcontracted. So I still kept doing stuff for them, and then out of that, that was going pretty good for a while.
Well, let me pause you there too.
Sure.
'Cause tell me about the thought process to going on your own. You know, it's most people never have that experience where they quit a job to start a business, and you took that leap. Like, was it hard for you to do that? Was it kind of a no-brainer for you?
Yeah, I think you just know.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, I think it's confidence. You just build confidence through whatever you're doing. You kind of just build up your own thing. You know what I mean? So then I knew I could do it. Like, I can do this, 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 and this. I'm just doing it. And then that's the one thing any business I've ever done, or any the gyms or the meals or supplements or anything, I just do it.
And it's all stuff that you're familiar with. You know this stuff.
Yep.
Like it's a part of you.
Yep, and you just do it.
And how about like the business side of it? Like how did you learn that part of it? Because that's different than doing the work as the
that is
business
just
side behind
that's
the scenes.
learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife Faith, she helps me a lot with that. So.
Did you know her back then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually worked together on the theming company.
We did. Okay.
Yeah, we were friends first.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And were you friends at this time when you started the business?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
That was what, 2008. Yeah.
Did you have like mentors or anything that helped you, or you just kind of figure it out as you went? How did that work?
Figure out as we went, pretty much. With
Yeah.
the Echoscapes, you kind of figure it out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's an interesting thing, and well, that's evolved so much. Like it used to be concrete, so it's concrete trees and like sconnies.
Yeah.
Like that tree, we did that, so that's
yeah.
concrete. You know, it was kind of our thing for a while, and then 2008, everything ended. So Echoscapes failed in 2008
Okay.
because everything crashed. No one was building, no one was doing anything. I don't know if you remember that, like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So everything
sure
just
do.
ended. So then Echoscapes
Mm-hmm.
pretty much failed, but I didn't want to end it completely because I thought there was like potential eventually for something. You know, so then I was training, just lifting weights, and my buddy Dennis Wolk, he came up to me and said, "You should be a trainer."
Oh.
You know what I mean? So I was like, no way, no interest, because I was just like, all I wanted to do was just lift weights. You know,
Yeah.
I changed a lot since back then. You know what I mean? It was kind of, I had like the I won't say narrow-minded, but like it was just like construction and lift weights, and I was just in this like you know what I mean?
That was your focus. That was your
Yeah.
zone. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I started thinking, well, I have nothing to lose. I have zero money. I could do some training, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I decided that I would try to do something, you know what I mean? But it had to be, I don't know, it had to be something cool. I couldn't just do Eric Thomas training. Everyone was doing that.
Yeah.
Like this, their name training, you know. So I was with Faith, and we were trying to think of like the coolest name and try to think of a name, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was trying all these different things in the newfound power training. Like it's like, you know what I mean?
And that's the name of your supplement company now. So it started as your training business.
Personal training, yeah. Yeah.
And how did you start getting clients? Did you have people that were kind of asking you already, or how did that work?
Well, first thing I want to do is make it look like something more than it was.
Mm-hmm.
So Brett Rice is a buddy of mine. I drove to his house and I gotta talk to you. And I said, I want to start this training because he was already a trainer. I said, I want to start this training thing, newfound power. I want you with me on it. I want you to, like, we'll do marketing, we'll do da-da-da, you know what I mean? And make
Mm-hmm.
flyers and, you know, really marketing, do t-shirts and da-da-da. And he was like, what's that mean? I said, well, I don't know, just, you know, I'm not going to take any money from you. You still can do your training. You'll just be under this umbrella with me. We'll just do it. And so he decided to, so then we did the first flyer with Newfound Power Personal Training, and it was me and him. It was kind of cool. So that kind of sparked it, and then people were kind of intrigued, like, what is this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it seemed like it was more than, people were intrigued because there's nothing like that around here.
Well, that's a good idea too, because then you have like this base of customers. Even if they're his customers, you can say Newfound Power has 20 customers already.
Right. Yeah,
so even if you haven't asked them to
yeah, it was kind of a way to just get my foot in the door.
There is kind of part of that in business when you're starting a new business. You know, like a lot of people will maybe, like if you're a photography business, you know, you don't have any much of a portfolio.
Right.
You might reach out to like 4 or 5 people and say, hey, I'll do your photos at cost. Just let me use your stuff in promo, and you know, give me a nice client recommendation or a testimonial.
Legitimizes you a bit.
Exactly.
Which was cool. So we started that, and I had 0 clients. And this guy, Tony Sweeney, I don't know if you know him.
The name sounds familiar.
He was at the gym, and I decided to separate myself a bit. I was going to offer like boxing, because I learned boxing from John Yost and Adam Veenster were 2 of my buddies that they kind of showed me. One was a pro boxer, one was Golden Gloves, and they kind of showed me how to do boxing. So then I decided I would do that. Like I would kind of start doing, you know, something different than just weight training. And Tony Sweeney was my first guy who was like, I'll do that. you know what I mean? And he was intrigued by it. So then we started training, and he helped me out a lot. So he had me train his family, his friends, his that. So it just kind of grew. So I should thank him a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Because who knows?
So you were doing mostly boxing type training.
Yep, in the
You
beginning.
weren't even really teaching weights, and then
Yep, in the
did that
beginning.
transition to?
Yep,
to
it
weights
just
then?
everything, yeah. And then
Everything,
people
yeah.
wanted to do. The one thing that I kind of had a leg up was I could do powerlifting. I knew how to gain mass. I knew how to get in shape and cut up. I knew how to do boxing. I knew how to do, because everyone comes at you with different things. Some people can't gain any weight. Some people can't lose any weight. So then I just kind of knew how to do it, because through myself, I would go from 300 pounds down to 240, back to 270. But I could gauge it, and then I would just show them how I did it. So.
Yeah, I always wonder, like, I think it's hard to tell unless you really went for it. It's kind of hard for people to tell whether they're hard or easy gainers.
Oh yeah, right.
What percentage have you noticed of people who are hard versus easy gainers? Like, has it been kind of all over the place, or?
Say most people could gain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people, like probably 70% could gain pretty easy. I think.
Really? Yeah.
But they just not knowing how. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've trained people that were pretty heavy. I mean, 380 pounds, who came to me. John Gunther was a guy. He came to me, 380, and he just said he couldn't lose weight. He said, I don't do anything. I eat one little meal a day, and I can't lose any weight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, try to eat 4 meals, but this is what I want you to eat, and when you eat, and then this is the kind of training we're gonna do. And it was more of a circuit training. You know what I mean? He got down to 240.
Wow.
You know, and this is a year and a half. You know, but it's just, yeah, sometimes people want to do it. They just don't have the know-how.
Yeah.
You know, and I know some people out there, like, I see a lot of people judging people, but it's just like, sometimes it's just not their fault at all. Like, they are trying their best, and they just don't know how to do it.
Right.
You know, and I think that's what a trainer should do, is just be able to, you know, motivate, show knowledge somewhat, but the most of it is motivating.
Yeah, I think it's hard for people too, because you hear so many conflicting stuff when if you're just a casual person and you read
go on
through
the internet and there's
yeah.
10 million things, and there's,
you know, one week you hear, oh, do this, and the next week, no, that's bad, do this instead, and you know, it just keeps I think for the average person, if you're not even for someone who is really dedicated to the stuff, you hear a lot of info. There's a lot of stuff you have to parse through.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to, I don't know, man. I think the best thing you can do is get a one-on-one trainer, even if it's 2 weeks. You have to customize it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to just, like, I don't know. It's got to be more customized.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I see a lot of trainers do now is like taking their business online and doing a lot of online training. Have you done that with Newfound Power at all?
I have not.
No, you guys have stuck completely.
Yeah, and I don't train anymore, so I don't do the training anymore.
Yeah.
So there is no more Newfound Power training. It's kind of just went off on its own into the supplements and stuff like that.
Yeah. When did it become a supplement? When did you start with that, and kind of what led to it?
So the training took off, and all of a sudden, you know, I have like 25, 30 clients, and it's just blowing up. And then I have 4 trainers with me as a team, so now we have 5, you know what I mean? So then it really just took off and was growing, and I started with the shirts. So then the shirts, we started with like 10 shirts, sold them, 20, 30, 50, 100, and then you saw it everywhere. So we decided that we were gonna start a clothing line. So we, you know, and this was me and Faith. So we started like looking into clothing line, you know, going into that. And then I thought, I always look for like a void in the industry, or a void, you know what I mean? There was no real training going on at the time that was marketing or doing anything or really pushing it. And then I saw a void in the supplement world, where it was, a lot of thing was just like, it wasn't good ingredients that they were putting in, and it was just, the whole thing in the supplement, when we came into it, was it was like all the people were in shape, everyone was good looking, everyone was this, and everyone was just like, we wanted to come in as a supplement company for like everybody. You know what I mean? If you look at some of our stuff, it's just like everybody. You know what I mean? Because that's, I think that the majority of people are that, and you know what I mean? That's what we want to help and kind of target towards. You know, just like everyone wants to get healthier.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And their own version of it. And some people want to look this way and look that way, and it doesn't, you know, that's their own thing. So
how do you market toward the average Joe and Jill versus the super fit? Like, what does that look like?
Just on your post, you do just everyday people, you know what I mean? You just do, and you just give health tips for people maybe that are overweight. You give health tips that are not just necessarily a bicep workout for 2 hours. You know what I mean? It's not just, it's less knucklehead and more like, you know what I mean? Just to try, and a lot of our is, yeah, we have a supplement company, and that took us forever. That took us 2 years, and we had to pay scientists, and we had to go through the whole thing, and the, you know, and make sure we had the best product and the GMP certified lab and the third party testing. Like that takes forever.
Yeah, what's that like in that 2 years when because I'm really become interested in entrepreneurship and like reading stories and listening to stories about it, and there's always that period of time where you're putting money in,
right,
and you don't know if you're going to get that money back out. And what's that like, and how do you?
You have to absolutely believe it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, that's all you have to do. I think it's with anything we've done, you know, and you can't give up. There's no way. And I know that's been beaten into the ground, like, don't give up, but it's true. You know what I mean? And so many people are almost going to be successful and they give up.
You're right there.
Because it sucks. It's hard. Like you know, Echoscapes failed, 180 cuts failed, lift failed, and NFP failed, all of them several times.
Really?
And then you just keep going, and you find a way, and you problem solve, and you just figure it out, and then now all of them are successful.
When you say fail, like what happened?
Completely ran out of money and was over.
Really?
Like, yeah, I mean, that's like it, you know what I mean? And then you just put some more in or find a way, and then you just keep going, you know what I mean? And some people will quit, and some people will head for the hills and run away, and some people will just, it's over, you know what I mean? And then you just, what you're usually left with are the workers, man, the people that are gonna go for it. You know, we had, man, even NFP, we had our sponsored athletes, we had like 50 of them.
You had a lot of sponsored athletes.
Yeah, we had so many, and now we got it down, you know, we're at about 5 now. But it's just because, you know what I mean, like, as we were going through tough times and that, you know, and everyone wants and all this, you know what I mean? You need them to be loyal to it and believe in it and go through the trenches with you a bit.
Yeah.
You know, but
so it sounds like you kind of narrowed down some of your down to your core people.
Yeah.
What gave you? How did you power through that when one of these businesses would, like you said, they'd run out of money, they were on the verge of where most people would probably hang it up? What allowed you to be like, you know what, I'm gonna keep going because I think this is gonna be a thing?
Because giving up is the absolute worst. There's nothing worse than that. You know, like, I don't want that feeling. I don't want be 80 years old and say, I should have done that. You know, whatever I do, whatever happens, I could go to zero money and I'll have no regrets. That's not the worst. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can always weld a bird, I think.
Yeah.
I hope, you know.
So you figure you always have that backup plan no matter what.
Well, yeah, but I didn't have a backup plan before that.
That's true, yeah.
I just think it is what it is, you know what I mean? And there was, you know, I tried to find different things, like when Echoscapes failed and I got into the training, but I also tried to get a job at a factory, like, you know what I mean? Like, just in the meantime, it's like, you know, you focus on your thing, but you gotta just keep going and do whatever it takes, you know?
Yeah, so you just have the belief you're gonna find a way to be successful
Yeah.
in one of these things or all of them or something, and you're gonna do what you gotta do to make that happen.
And in the meantime, if you gotta go work somewhere else, then go work somewhere else. I tried getting a job at Kraft and they didn't hire me.
Really?
So that stung a bit.
That's crazy.
And and I remember being so mad. It was just what was that? Kelly Services. So I went there, I needed a job, no money, and I really wanted Echoscapes to take off, and the training just started, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, I'll just go work at whatever craft, right? And I was like, all right, and I went in, and and they brought me in, they said, we didn't give you the job. And I was so mad, and I said, I would work circles around anyone.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure it out. And I remember being so mad, and they just said, we just think you're gonna do something else. We think that you're gonna do your own thing. And that's what, so it was somehow a compliment. And and then just right after that, I landed a job for Echo in Chicago, which was a huge waterfall. So that just was like, they were right. So I can't be that mad, but
True.
I'm still on the Kelly services list, so I never got taken off because it just motivates me, because they'll still call and be like, there's a job opening at, you know what I mean? And I want to stay on the list as a reminder
like
to keep kicking ass, you know what I mean? Just to keep going.
It's like that fire behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was there, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that could happen anytime. Like tomorrow I could go to 0, and I just don't care. You know, you just got to go for it. That's the only way you can't be afraid of anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a real no fear approach. That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
So how did the supplement line take off when you first launched it? And
Horrible.
horrible, really?
0. Like that's another thing. So you know, I get into this realm of supplements. I knew there was a void. I knew there was something, but I'm not an internet guy. You know what I mean? So I'm more face to face, meet people, go show up at a gym, talk to the owner. Like that's me, you know. So we launched the website, and I think we're getting all these orders, crickets.
Yikes.
And I'm just sitting with, and when you go to a legitimate manufacturer, you have to get X amount of supplements. So in the beginning, we had to do like 1,000 of each, and we did 10, you know what I mean? So we had 10,000 supplements. We had pallets and pallets, and I remember just staring at the computer and no orders at all. And I'm like, oh man. So you do two things. You know, me and Faith at that time, you sit in the corner and you cry and say, oh man, we failed. Or you just go and say, well, let's go, man. Like, what do we got to do? So then I decided to go talk to gyms, you know, promote it more, and really just chase after it. And then the online started ordering, you know, everyone started, you know, the orders came in slowly, you know what I mean? You start going to these shows and talking to people, and then it's weird, like, it just starts happening.
Yeah.
You know, but slowly.
So it's like a slow churning of the engine. Was there a point where it sort of reached a critical mass where it started taking off?
Yeah, and that happened. See, it's usually, when they say surround yourself with the right people, that's completely true. You know what I mean? So I had people like Jim Boucher and Tony Sweeney and then Ben Reif. He was another one. Do you know him? Wausau coded.
That name sounds really familiar too. Yeah.
So Ben Reif is like super successful businessman. You know what I mean? And I met him at the gym, and I was like, hey, can we meet? And we'd go to I don't even know the restaurant. Qdoba and have a burrito, and then we would talk. He would take time out of his day. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. Like I'm just learning business, and this is when it really changed. So I was doing training, which was successful. I was doing very well financially through that. That's when I had the team, and that really blew up. And the supplement line was starting to go, but not really. You know, it was slowly. It was making money, but slowly. And I was meeting with him, and we're eating. He's like, okay, well, how's the supplements going? And I'm just like, oh, it's going okay. He's like, how's the training? And I'm like, oh, doing really well, you know what I mean? Making a ton of money, da da. And he's like, quit. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, quit the training. It's over, quit. And I'm like, well, why? You know, I'm making X amount, like I've never made this much money in my life. Like, this is awesome. And he's like, if you don't focus on the supplements, it's gonna fail. You know what I mean? You're comfortable. So you're making a lot of money, and you're just sitting in your town, and you're not chasing after the big company, something that could like build wealth and really at a national level or international level, like it could take off. So he's like, you gotta quit the training, and you gotta focus on NFP. And I'm just like, okay, and I quit. I told all my clients, I said, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for helping me, but I gotta chase after NFP gear. Like, I gotta go after it, and I just have to go after it. And I told, there was a trainer who was with me, Chris Strike, and I said, thank you for being loyal to me, and I want you to have all my clients, and I want you to work with them, and you keep all the money, and I'm just out. And that was, in 2 weeks I was out, and I went from doing really well back to zero. And a lot of people would say, well, why would you ever do that? You know what I mean? It's just because there are people smarter than me and more successful than me, and I'm one that will listen. I don't know everything, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm learning, and so I started doing that, and it did take off. So now I have no money again. And now I am gonna make every phone call. I'm gonna answer every email. I'm going to every gym, every show, every boxing event, UFC event. I'm gonna go to everything, hand out samples, and talk to everyone. And the online just blew up. It was crazy, because I focused all my energy on it.
So you must have been traveling. Were you just going all over the country doing this kind of stuff?
Everywhere. Yeah, and I don't know. It was just crazy.
There had to be some times where you were just sitting in a chair going, oh my God, I hope this works.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Especially like
every day.
I gotta think like right after you left all your clients and transitioned them, and there must have been a moment where you just sat down and went, oh my God.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That happens all the time, but it's kind of a rush, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's nothing more motivating than have to. You have to. Like, if you get comfortable, man, that's it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm still not comfortable, because I just, you know what I mean? I can see where these things can go. You know, it's just exciting.
When did the lift come into the play? Now, you weren't there in ground zero, am I correct? Or you were?
Not ground zero. So it was Andy Schrader and Corey Stern. Mm-hmm. They were from Anago.
Yeah.
And they came in, and I got word that they were gonna open a gym in town, or Corey wanted to take, over the fitness industry in Wausau. And I was, at that time, wanting to open my own gym. The supplements took off, everything was going good, and I'm like, man, I'd really like to have my own gym. So, I don't know, years before it even happened, I don't know if you remember, my trailer was always parked at Rib Mountain in front of that Dollar General when it was empty. And that was before Lyft even got to town.
Yep.
Like, if you Google the address, my trailer's in front of that building.
Yeah, I remember seeing it every time I go to the grocery store or something.
Because I'm like, there's something about, you just envision what you want. Mm-hmm. So like, I wanted that building. I was like, that should be a gym. It's a perfect location. So I started doing like, how can I acquire this? What do I have to do to make this happen, And then I'm like, well, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to meet him. So I met Corey, and I walked in, and we just started talking 100 miles an hour, and we were both fired up, adrenaline going, and it was like talking to myself, like exactly, you know what I mean? Like what he wanted, the same kind of thing in a gym that I wanted. And then, so they brought me on board, and before the doors opened, we were all owners or together.
Yeah, that's right. Because when I interviewed you all three were owners when it opened.
Yeah.
That seems like something that's really important. Is when you were talking to a potential business partner, that you're like, your vision is like aligned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be.
And that sounds like you guys were just in lock sync in terms of.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And whose idea was it to do 3? Because I remember you made that claim when I first interviewed you when the first one opened, that we're going to have 3 by the end of the year.
That was Corey.
That was Corey.
That was him.
That was his plan.
And that was the first time anyone heard of it, when he said it in front of you.
That's crazy.
And I remember I was just like, all right, but then if someone believes that, I love it. Good. Then let's do it. How do we do it? Let's go. You will never hear me say, are you sure? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, we should really think about, like, never. You want to do that? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You know what I mean? And so I remember walking out, and you just left. And I'm like, so are we doing this? And then Schrader said, well, he told the paper, so yeah. And I'm like, perfect. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, man.
I love that
it's
I
just,
sort of had a part of this.
Yeah,
I'm part of the story.
Yeah, you were there. So you were there. You were there at ground zero with the.
Nice.
And then then we found a way to do it. You know what I mean? Like, Godrib Mountain, which was awesome, had an opportunity for that, whatever, the building over by North, and then just made it happen.
Wow.
No.
Now you said even lift had a point where it failed, essentially failed.
Well, it's just
brought it back. How did that?
Yeah, it goes through tough times just because you're growing, and you're so ambitious, you want to grow so fast, and and you just think, okay, the opportunity is there to get we got an awesome deal on Rim Mountain, so we just go for it. Now, at that moment, when you just have the one on Grand Ave, did you get enough members to purchase that? Absolutely not.
So you don't have. I was gonna say you don't have the cash flow necessarily.
No, you don't. There's no way, Mm-hmm. So everyone puts it in, and then you find a way, but you believe that when you open that location and make it the best as you can and treat people right, and be good to your gym goers, that it'll take off. And so that's kind of what happened, and the thing, what I wanted to do was bring in all the best trainers, you know what I mean, just bring in everybody from all different places that I thought were the best, and I think we've done that. Like Heather Vesley, Chris Strike, Jared Boyle, like, you know what I mean? You bring in all these trainers that are awesome. Sarah Riley, she came over. I don't know, I can't remember the name of the gym she was at, but, or maybe I just don't want to mention it.
Yeah.
Whatever. I got a pretty good memory, but yeah. So you bring in the best trainers, and then I don't know, you offer results, I should say.
And by this point, I mean, this is, I don't want to say old hat, but you're used to, like, it seems like you weren't afraid to kind of put yourself in the hole, knowing that good things could be on the horizon.
Right.
You're just going to keep. So do you feel like those experiences gradually, did you build a resilience, or was there always that kind of like that feeling in your gut where you're like, oh God, I hope this works?
You build a resilience, but it does have that.
It's a little of both.
Yeah, you always have that, and that's good to have. You should always have, like, if you don't ever feel like slightly like, oh, this could fail, then you're really not pushing it as much as you can push it. And I personally think, man, it's hard to, I know this has been said a lot, but if you want to do something, you can do whatever you want. And I think that goes for anyone. But you just gotta be willing to just keep going no matter what. That's what just separates, you know what I mean?
I mean, it sounds like almost, and I used the phrase no fear before, but it's almost more like you have to embrace the fear. It sounds like you have to be comfortable with being really uncomfortable at different points.
It's a slight courage, you know what I mean? It's a slight, and then confidence.
I think it sounds like a lot of courage.
Yeah, well.
I mean, it seems like, right? Like,
yeah, I guess.
I think maybe you're sort of used to being in that mode now, but for someone who's just like, worked a 9 to 5 all their life. To make that leap, I think, is pretty scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, you're right. And there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5 though. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
That you sit. That's still like. Security is nice. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's awesome too. It's just, but if you feel like there's something you really want to do, I just think anyone can do it. I just think it's if you want to go for it. And then another thing is, like, surround yourself with, like, everything I have has an awesome team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, face by my side. You know.
I was just
like,
gonna say that starts at home. Like, I was gonna have you maybe talk a little bit about Faith's role in this, because she sounds like she's been through pretty much all of this.
Oh yeah, and then
it's gonna be hard.
Oh, she loves it when I start a new company.
Really?
No, but but she's awesome. I mean, she's the backbone of, like, every single company. She'll design Lyft, and she'll do the social media for Lyft, and she'll, you know what I mean, have awesome ideas for it. And 180 Cuts, she's there the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, she's the one working there and coming up with the protein shakes and, everything. In the statues, she does help me. I mean, I would say 50-50 on statues. Like, even rolling the steel and putting in like the perfect, like doing the eyes and the detail and like the whole structure. Like, I don't think people realize how hands-on she is with Echo. So she's a real artist. Like, I'm, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I follow you both on Instagram, and sometimes she shares some of her art on
Yeah,
there.
but
It's pretty
she's so,
impressive.
she's very modest, you know what I mean, and humble, and she's
Yeah.
very like reserved, but like I try to brag for her. Because she is, the stuff she can do I could never touch, you know what I mean, like I'll try, but like she really has it, so.
That's awesome. And I want to talk to you about, you had mentioned 180 cuts, and I remember when that launched, and
Right.
it sort of morphed into 180 Marketplace. But can you kind of talk about that and how it changed over time, or what
So
happened?
that, my uncle, who's been a cook
Mhm.
and a owner of a few businesses, he came to me because he wanted to lose some weight. So then that's when I was done training, but we had lift and we had the supplements, and I would, you know, I'll train people here and there for free. You know what I mean? Just like if someone comes to me for help. So he came to me and I started training him, and he started losing a bunch of weight. And I think it was his idea. So then he was like, you know, there's no place that has like meals, you know what I mean, that you can,
Mhm.
whatever, just pick up that are ready to go.
That are
And-
also healthy, right?
Yeah, and then
Mhm.
meal prep has been around for a long time. So then I started investigating, like, okay, there's all these different places that do it in like the cities.
Mhm.
What does it involve and what does it do? And I'm thinking, well, I have the gyms and the supplements and the, you know what I mean? And he can cook and do all that. So then like, okay, well, how will this work? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we just decided, all right, let's do it. Just another thing, like, okay, all right, let's do it. And if we're doing it, let's do it. Let's go after it. So what that started as was he would, you know, you could get 30 chicken breasts. That's what it started as. And you could pick it up at the gym, you know, and then
Yeah.
that's how it started. It's almost like a pre-order. So
Mhm.
we started doing that, rented a spot where he could cook. And then I was like, man, we had that daycare in the Rib Mountain lift.
Yeah.
And everyone wanted daycare, and it was gonna be the best, and everyone, Facebook blew up, and everyone wanted it, and then no one showed up.
Really?
So the daycare, you know, we weren't utilizing that space.
See, that's interesting. I find that there's a difference between what people say they want and what
Oh,
they
yeah.
actually want.
Yeah,
It doesn't always align.
yeah,
Yeah.
neither, yeah,
Just like everyone in the news industry, everyone says they want like they want to know about like their local taxes and about
right,
this and that. What do they actually click on? They click on the celebrity stories. You know,
Yeah,
they'll
right.
say they don't want that,
oh
but
yeah.
that's what they click on. It's so funny.
Yeah, and then you have your friends and family, a lot of them will be like, oh, if you start a supplement line, man, I'll order that, and they're still going to other places.
Oh,
And they're
yeah.
still in that one order,
Yep.
and you're just kinda like, okay, but that's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were at the daycare failed, so then we weren't utilizing the space, and I thought, man, what if there was a spot that you could just have it all the time? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So then we thought, all right, we're gonna put in a freezer there, and then we're gonna just start doing it and kind of see how it goes. You know what I
This was at
mean?
the Rib Mountain
Yep.
one, yeah.
So it started with a freezer, and then it started taking off, and people were like, okay, you can come in, and I'm like, oh, this really has potential, you know?
Mhm.
And then the first guy I trained, Tony Sweeney, he also is the first guy who bought one of my statues,
Wow.
one of the freeform one, when we were just doing the thing.
Nice.
And now he said, hey, I really think I could help with 180. I'd like to come in and partner on 180. And Tony owns Piper Products. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's a huge company out in the industrial park.
Yeah.
But they do the freezers and the build out, and they do, like, I think they do all the Circle K's and the Quick Trips and the Subways and the
Yeah.
ovens. So he had the ovens, he could do the build out for the market, he could do all that. So then he came in as a partner on 180 Cuts, which was awesome, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then, man, through his advice and how to do it, and Faith did all the design, we really went after it again.
Nice.
So, and then it turned out to be a which was awesome, you know, with the protein shakes and the meals and all that.
And then it sounds like Faith primarily runs that now, is that
Yep.
fair to say? And
Yeah.
is she enjoying that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think she likes it. She likes talking with people, and she's a bit smarter than me, so she's good at like diet advice, you know what I mean? And she's super good at creating the protein shakes. It's just awesome. Yeah, so she's kind of running the show on that, pretty much 100%.
That's awesome. And now you got another lift opening up in Marshfield.
Yep.
How's that going?
That's going good.
Mm-hmm.
It needs a lot of work. You know, it was an existing gym,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like the Snap one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You had to kind of turn it and make it into what lift is. You know, the more industrial but super clean, like that feel of it.
Is it easier to transform something that was already a gym, or is it easier to kind of start from scratch almost?
For looks, start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
For business, a turnkey.
Yeah.
Like you have, 500 members already. Now that you just, you know what I mean? That's easier to walk into, because then you
Oh,
just
so
make
it's-
it better.
So those members, the people that were members of the gym
At
previously,
Marshfield.
they will transfer.
Yep.
And just kind of, we put their membership on hold for a while until the.
Yeah, well, it's still open. We didn't
Oh.
shut it.
Oh, so you're just transforming
Yep.
it.
So we're transforming it. So we started moving equipment, starting adding better equipment.
Gotcha.
And the good thing we do is we listen. So we say, well, instead of us coming in like, we know, what do you guys want? Well, we
Yeah.
always wanted this machine and we never got it. Okay, we'll get that. We wanted this in this room, and that, so we just started adding stuff. So.
Mhm. So you got a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
Like, where do you see lift just continuing to grow? Do you
Yep.
feel like you're gonna probably have more gyms?
Yep. I think it's gonna keep growing.
That's just the goal, is just keep growing it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Grow or die. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you just gotta, I think it'll keep going. I see 180 cuts, especially with Tony Sweeney on board, like, that's gonna go to the next level. Like the cauliflower crust pizzas, the shakes, the bites, the meals, like that's really taking off.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is, that's a void, there is no meal prep in Wausau.
Nope.
There is no, where you can just go get a healthy meal, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
An all-in-one. And a big thing that 180 has too is, we have the supplements, we have everything, but we have advice. Like, anyone can come in there and we'll tell you exactly what diet you should be on, exactly, the carb fat ratio, like workouts, like we're an open book. Like, we're pretty much there to help.
Yeah.
And I think when you lead with that, business and success, that'll come. But if you lead with kind of doing good or being helpful, you know what I mean? It usually just kind of goes hand in hand.
Nice. So, I mean, I think we gave a lot of really great tips about entrepreneurship already.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, for people who might be maybe on the fence about starting a business, or, maybe just started one, what things did you learn through your experience that you would pass on to someone else? What should they keep in mind?
My buddy Tony would always say, polish the stone, which means just every day, just do one thing. I mean, if you want to do 100 things in a day, go ahead. But every day, just consistency is going to be success. Can't go hard for 2 days and take a break and then have a negative attitude, you know what I mean? And you can't be, on the fence, jump off the fence and just decide that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Just be consistent and hang around people who are more successful and smarter and who are in the realm of what you want to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get advice, Jim, Nick, there's so many people that have helped me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I'm always grateful for that. You know what I mean? And there's people that want to help.
Right.
And those guys do want to help. If you're honest and you're a good person and you're a hard worker, they love that. I think, unless I just bother them, but you know what I mean?
No, I think you're right. I think I've seen that too, from when people are really care about what they do, and they see someone else who cares about what they do that are maybe at a lesser stage. Like, they want to. I think a lot of people are really generous, but they don't want. I think people don't want to waste their time with someone who isn't serious about what they're doing. But if you show that you're serious and you really want to make strides and,
Yeah.
and try to better yourself with some of these things, whether it's entrepreneurship
Yeah.
or fitness. You know, I found the same thing in fitness. Like if you really show that you're asking questions of people, but you're showing that you've like done some research on your own and that you have some idea what you're talking about, but you're looking for further advice. I think
Yeah.
most people will share what they
Yeah.
learned.
And don't be afraid to ask questions, man.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to walk up and just say, hey, I'm thinking about this and this and this. You know what I mean? And don't get discouraged. You know, like, you know, when I wanted to start a supplement company, I had 90% of people say it's a dumb idea. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I want to do a statue. And I mean, you've seen the birds.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being so pumped up, man. I was like, oh man, what a great opportunity. I think we did a great job. And then you go to Facebook and see 470 negative comments and
Yeah.
2 good ones.
Yeah, what was that like? Because that's a tough. We didn't talk about that. What's that like to go through that? Like,
It's motivating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'll sink in your chair a bit. You know what I mean? You're human.
Yeah.
But it's just motivating. And then, I mean, if people are going to take their time, at least you're doing something. You know what I mean? At least they're talking about you. You know what I mean? But
yeah, and I really think, even though I know everyone kind of referred to it as the rusty birds, but I felt like
well, they are rusty.
from what
There's some truth in that.
But from what it sounded like, it wasn't, the birds weren't really the issue. They were just sort of the symbol of the issue. But the issue was like the project overall was pretty poorly designed with like the way they were saying how the grass was like impossible to cut because of the way
Right.
they designed it. So it wasn't really like
And then,
your sculptures, like that was.
well,
just
another
like-
part of it is people believed I made way more than I did on those. And people
Really?
thought I made like a fortune on these birds. I think that was a big thing. It was like a tax issue, or I read that a lot. My
Yeah.
taxes don't have to pay for these
Mhm.
zombie birds or something. I don't know, whatever. But I don't know. So I think it was more, I think people thought I made way more than I did on the initial ones. You know, and due to that, see, I was supposed to get 36 more.
Yeah,
And because of all the complaints and all that got shut down, which was rough.
yeah,
That was a big
yeah,
check.
because you're gearing up for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was all fired up, but I mean, it's just, you just have to be motivated, negative or positive. I'd have people close to me that said, you know, steel statues will never be anything, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
the 180 cuts isn't gonna work, lift isn't gonna work, you know, but you just keep going and you get around people, stick to people, listen to people that think it is gonna, you know,
Yeah.
because people will be negative, you know what I
Sure.
mean? And usually people want you to do good, but not better than them, or not, you know, it's really weird. Like, I want everyone around me to do better than me and great. I just don't, it doesn't bother me.
Well, I've heard a saying that, you know, and I usually am not a big fan of pithy sayings, but this one kind of made some sense. It said, "Don't listen to criticism from someone who hasn't done what you're trying to do."
Yeah,
I think
correct.
that's pretty solid. I mean, because people, you know, it's really easy to criticize or just say, "Ah, that won't work." But unless
Yeah.
someone really has an idea of it,
Right.
you know, what do they do? And most people who have done it, they'll have a better idea. They probably won't tell you that won't work. They'll
Right.
say, "That's a good idea, but what if you also incorporated this, or what if you
Yeah.
changed this to that?" You know, there's usually like, it's more of like tweaking advice you'll get from
Yeah.
people who have already done what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and people that are doing very well usually will not say negative stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I noticed that.
That's true too.
So like the some people that aren't doing anything and are just negative come at me with how everything's gonna fail, and it's just, you know, whatever. It's like a battery, man. Positive and negative. Just use it to charge you up. Like, just keep ripping. That's what
For
I
sure.
think. But
One thing I wanted to ask you too, and this is a concept I've been interested in lately, is I've heard the phrase "launch ugly," and the idea is like, you know, you can't get everything perfect before you start, and that you kind of, quote unquote, build the bus as you're driving it.
yeah,
And I think there's a balance, because you don't want to just like, jump into something with no plan, but I think also there's a balance of, you know, you don't want everything, you can't have everything perfect, because it's never going to be, and you're going to learn a
Correct.
lot as you're doing.
yeah.
What do you think about that, and what do you think about that balance, and how would you explain that?
I agree
balance
with
to
that.
someone?
That's
Yeah.
not a, you know, I mean, you can try to do your best, but that one thing that goes along with that is you'll never be ready. I was never ready for NFP, 180, you know, and everything. We kind of just polished the stone, kept going a little better, added this, got rid of that. That was, you know what I mean? And NFP started with, 10 products. Now we got our solid 7. Kind of got rid of those. That doesn't work. We don't like that, or, focus on the ones that we like the best. But you're never ready. No one's ever ready to be like, oh, I'm gonna start my business. Now I'm ready.
Yeah, and I also imagine that every one of your businesses, and you kind of alluded to that every one of your businesses really changed from when you first started it. Maybe not.
Oh yeah, they evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, the first lift was really CrossFit oriented, I believe, and now I don't think any of yours are, or are they?
We sold that portion of it.
Okay, yeah.
So it was split down the middle. There was CrossFit and there was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool, just because you got to meet a lot of different people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was cool that we started that way.
And you could try it, right?
Yeah.
If you were a lifter, and you could say, okay, maybe I'll give that CrossFit a try.
Yeah.
Do it in the same gym. It made some sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So Andy Adrian, he's still doing adventure weights, which that became. You know what I mean? Which is awesome. Yeah.
That's right down the hill on Kent. Is that right?
That's right next to us. So Lift in West End, and then in the same building.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. I just saw it the other day. Yep.
So that's the best CrossFit gym, man. I don't know I've ever seen, and they do it really good. You know what I mean? It's so, and we got to be friends with them. Through this, you get to meet all these awesome people. So it is kind of cool, and they support 180 Cuts, which is awesome, and NFP. So.
And so the lift gyms have kind of become more of a weightlifting / circuit training kind of a gym. Is that fair to say?
Everything. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
And I think we got like 20 trainers now, which is cool.
If 180 changed, because we started off as a like kind of a meal pickup service, and then it evolved into like kind of a cafe style.
Yeah. And which is cool. That's in house now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can work out and just go get your shake and go get whatever you want. It also has an outdoor entrance, so even if you're not a member at Lift, you can still come into 180.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Before, yeah.
But everything does evolve, and like even Echo, like it was concrete, and then it just turned into steel statues, and that was, what was the name of that? I'm trying to think. What was the music festival? Why Not Wausau? Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
So Why Not Wausau? Randy Verhasselt came to me and said, I know you do some steel stuff, because a friend of mine was doing art shows in Milwaukee, and they asked me if me and Faith could make like this statue of, it was like a woman diving back.
Oh yeah.
So we made that, and when we did the show, and you don't know what people think, and we never did stuff like that without concrete. So then when we put that there, they loved it and put us in the spotlight, in the best spot, you know what I mean? Which was cool, and they asked us to keep doing them. Then Verhassel came to me and said, we want a 10-foot question mark. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
It looked like Wisconsin.
Yep.
So we made that, and he's like, well, what do you want for it? I said, well, I'll just donate. I'll do it for free. So we did that question mark, and then Echo pretty much paused. Nothing happened, you know what I mean? And then 2 years later, Revi approached me and said, can you make birds like that? Why not Wausau question mark? It's just interesting. And I said, of course I can. Birds are my expertise, and I never made a bird in my life. You know what I mean? But I really wanted the, whatever, how many birds that was, 18 birds. I was like, what an opportunity. So I told Faith, I came home like, man, we got to make a bird. We got to learn how to make birds fast. So we did 2 birds. So it's just interesting that that's why I always think, good karma and good stuff, like if you do stuff, like we did it for free, and we just did it because we thought it was cool, and you don't know a roundabout way what'll happen from doing good deeds and stuff, Yeah. So then 2 years later, we got approached to do the birds, and for the 10 million people that hated them, there was 20 that loved them, and you know what I mean, or it's exaggeration, but
Yeah.
But there were people like, hey, can you make an eagle, or could you do a raven, or could you do this and this and this and that? And all of a sudden it just blew up.
Yeah.
Like Echoscapes, I've done 132 statues.
Wow.
We did. So it's crazy, It's just crazy to think there's that many. But we're working on some really cool projects right now, so.
So what's a typical day like? I don't know if there even is a typical day, but like what does a day look like for you? I'm just curious.
Oh man,
with so many
a lot
things
of
going
stuff.
on.
Yeah, start instantly at the gyms. Go there, check everything out. talk to my partner Corey about what needs to be done, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the gyms, talked to Faith and Tony about 180. You just kind of, at this point, try to make everything run smoothly and see how they can all work together, you know? Online orders, make sure you answer every single email. And then a lot of my time, and it all changes, like sometimes I'll travel for NFP, and sometimes I'm just running around in circles, going to all the gyms, figuring it all out. Like it usually is just what has to your attention that day.
Yeah.
And when Echo, so that took off, so then I'll find myself welding 10 hours a day, you know, and trying to, you know, figure everything out. But it's just what you really want to focus on. You know, in last April, I really wanted to focus on Echo. I thought that there was a window there, and so put all my energy in that and see what could happen. And then we did that big willow tree. I don't know if you saw that. It's like a 20-foot willow tree.
Yeah.
So we did
I
that.
see that.
We did the wolf. We did the. All of a sudden, we had all these different statues. So I guess you just got to run with whatever's taking off at the time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you try to you know, put a lot in the fire because you're trying to like you hope it works, hope it works, hope it works. A lot of irons in the fire, and then all of a sudden they all work. And then that's why you find yourself, and like obviously you hear me talking in circles because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? It isn't a typical. It's just what has to be done because they're all working now, which is great.
Yeah.
But now I just have to figure it out. And I have, you know, I have Corey, I have Faith, you know, I have a bunch of people, you know, Tony, Tim, everyone. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. So.
Any final words that you would wanna give folks at home to anything you want to promote or you want to send people to? We didn't even talk about your music.
Oh yeah.
I totally skipped that. I was gonna talk about.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean we can talk about that a little. We should talk about that before you go because you was it last year you came out with that album?
Yeah, did a full album. Yeah.
Yeah, and the band is called The Will.
Yep.
And you play guitar.
Yep, I do.
You sing
So-
too, or someone else?
No,
No.
I try to sing, it just doesn't sound. No, Aaron Wolk, he sings. But so that, okay, so that story. So if you asked me if I would ever be in a band, I'd say absolutely not. Like I was too busy. I you know what I mean. And
Did you play guitar for?
oh
some
yeah,
time?
I've always played guitar, but it was
Yeah.
just kind of something I did. I mean, I was in a band in high school,
Yeah.
but my best friend and brother Adam Veenstra, I don't know if you knew him.
I know the name.
So he passed away. He was
Yeah.
really young, and so that was my best friend. I loved the kid,
Yeah.
and so everyone was going through a tough time with that, and it was just like a really low point. And my buddy Steve Paul plays drum, and Aaron Wolk, he was a singer in another band, and they kind of approached me and we should get together and do, you know, play music and stuff like that. And I remember talking to Aaron, I'm just like, well, how about we do one song for Adam, like to dedicate to him,
Yeah.
you know? And I said, but I'm only gonna be in the band if Steve Paul plays drums. You know, Steve Paul is the best drummer, like he's unreal. And I'm like, I'm only gonna be in the band if he's in. And Aaron's like, well, no way, he's never gonna be in a band because he's too busy. You know, he does like super nice high-end cars, like fixes them up. And then he made the phone call, and then he's like, yeah, I'm in. So I'm like, well, you know what I mean? It's
Nice.
kind of crazy. So we all got together, and it just kind of clicked. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And I never could write a song ever, or lyrics or anything. And then, but I think just because we were kind of venting, and it was really emotional, it came easy.
You channeled that emotion into
Yeah,
the
so
music.
I think that's something like a lot of musicians must have, you know, just like it has to mean something.
Mhm.
So then we got together and wrote a song for him, and that song, Veenstra, that was the name, that was the first song we wrote. And then Chic and Marty Cheka joined the band. He has, do you know Marty
I do.
at White House?
Yeah.
So he's the lead guitar. So they joined the band, and then I'm like, well, let's do a full album. You know what I mean? Instead, so it just clicked, and then I thought one song would be cool, but what about a full album? And Steve was right with me, and he's like, let's just do it. So then that, you just get motivated. You know what I mean? And it was just something special we did for our friend.
Yeah, and I want to talk about what a big deal that is because if Marty Shake had joined your band and is willing to record you guys,
Right.
Like he's really selective.
Right. Yeah.
Like that dude has been.
Yeah.
You know, for people who don't know, Marty Shaka has a studio kind of just outside of town, and he's, you know, he was in, you know, he had a major label album in Atlanta. Worked with like Timbaland, the producer. I mean, he's got some real chops.
Yeah.
And he's super selective about who he works with. Like he won't just. It's not just a matter of can he pay his fees, but like he has to believe that you have it in you to make a good album.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Appreciate that. But I think he saw the emotion and what it meant to us, and that we were just determined. You know, and then during that, like I wanted to be, like I remember I would play guitar for 2 hours, and then I would, as I worked out, I would listen to what I played, and then I would take out what I thought was good, and then you get these songs and then present it to Steve, and then present it to the rest of the band, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, man. It's just, it goes like anything, you know what I mean? Like, we were determined, and but everyone said there's no way you're gonna do a full album. It was the same thing. So if you have any success in anything you do, the minute you step out of that box, you know, a lot of people will just be negative and still not believe in you. You know,
it's just like when Michael Jordan started playing baseball.
Right.
Everyone hated on him. It's like, dude, he's Michael Jordan. You
Right.
think he's got that way because he doesn't have the ability to like learn something and internalize it. And he was on his way to being a pretty good baseball player.
Right.
You know, maybe not a superstar, but pretty darn good.
Yeah, and I mean, and if that's what he wants to do, then that's what he wants to do. You know what I mean? Don't let anyone tell you who you are and what you can do. You just do it because you want to do it.
By the way, kudos on the recording. By the way, record like I've been doing a lot of writing since back in, you know, once COVID started. I really started hitting the guitar pretty hard, and I found, and I picked this up from Harold Mello. So shout out to Harold from Substyle. But I just started recording whenever I came up with a new riff or a new idea. I just recorded it on the spot.
Awesome.
And that's huge because I was losing so many ideas because they just would disappear. And I used to think, well, maybe just the best stuff would stick with me. But actually, a lot of my favorite stuff that I've written, I probably would have forgotten if I hadn't recorded it, or I was like, how did that go again?
Yeah.
Play it on my. Oh yeah.
It's crazy, right?
It is, yeah. It's a game changer.
Our singer Aaron Wolk, he said that. Then when we first started, he said, record everything. So I mean, I have hours and hours, and it's insane. My voice memos are like through. It's like, it's crazy, but he was right. You know, and that's another, like, surround yourself with and those guys were all about it. That's what was so cool.
Yeah.
You know, you get like this. I don't know, man. Just gotta believe in it, I guess. But it's with everything, and like, you know, and that's the last thing, like you were saying, you want to leave someone with, but that is it. You know, like, I know it's been said before, but just believe that you can do it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, and focus on it. And the only thing I want to represent is slightly, if anything, that there's possibility. I started with zero money, you know what I mean? And then what I decided to do, all these different things, then I just did it. And it's because I have a team of great people in anything I do. Like, you know, I couldn't do that album by myself, but I have the 4 best musicians I know. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do Lift by myself. You get the best guy, you know, NFP 180, you get the best, and then you just go for it.
Yeah, just keep building that team.
Yeah, and because it's positive, you know.
I love that. The polish the stone idea.
Tony Sweeney.
Tony Sweeney.
Genius.
Shout out to Tony Sweeney. I'm keeping that one in my back pocket for sure. But
there you go.
Well, man, you're like super positive online. I love following you on there. You've always been supportive of my stuff, and I always deeply appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, guys, if you're looking for a gym, Lift is a great one. They got 4 locations now. If you're in Marshfield, they got one. Otherwise, the Wausau area, there's 3 of them. The band, The Will. What's the album called again?
Premeditated Murder of Myself.
Premeditated Murder of Myself. That's what iTunes and all the
Spotify. It's a bit heavier music. It's not easy listening.
Spotify, iTunes, all those places.
Yeah.
And 180 Cuts, man. You don't have to be a member of the gym. You can just walk in there and get some healthy food. I'd definitely stop in there myself from time to time and pick up a smoothie or cauliflower crust pizza. Those are pretty darn good. And let's see, what am I missing? Anything?
NFPgear.com.
NFPgear.com. So check that out.
Supplements,
If you
apparel.
need your protein powder, your pre-workout. That's a good place to go. And the apparel too.
Yep.
And
Echoscapes.
And Echoscapes.
If you need a statue. And we also have, myself and Kyle Veenstra have All Heart, which is a nonprofit.
Oh, okay.
So that's just, that's something new we're doing where we'll give free, if there's youth that need help, like we'll do stuff like a free gym membership, or, you know, like if they need help with a driver's ed, or if they need help in different ways. There's someone wanted to record before at Marty's, so we took care of that, like kind of just helping kids that don't have an opportunity to get one. That's our main focus.
Where can people find info about that?
We're on Facebook, All Heart.
All Heart on Facebook. Check that out.
And Kyle Veenstra started that.
Hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. If you're on iTunes, give us a nice rating. And I don't think Spotify has a thing, but if they do the thing on Spotify too, and wherever else you're listening. I'm BC, and I've been here with Eric Thomas. Eric, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, I have all my guests say keep it Wausome, so keep it Wausome, Eric.
Hey, keep it Wausome.
And you guys keep it Wausome out there too, and thanks for listening. Bye, everyone.